Good morning, interweb. Welcome back to the Artifexian podcast. In this month's episode, Danish currency is deposited into the Bank of Artifexia. Bill receives some custom-made Soviet-era propaganda posters. I need help with colours. We review the book A Master of Djinn by P. Djèlí Clark. And Bill and I, we start a Conlang. All that, plus lots more, in this month's episode.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that. Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song about RSS feed issues with my tinkering of a website. How about that for a start?
Between Shakespeare and Billy Joel, we've nailed it.
We have.
No, that's not. Sorry, what do I mean, Billy Joel? Send me yours and I'll sing you a song. That's the Beatles. Sorry. Between Shakespeare and the Beatles.
Beginning of last show, I put in a little thing at the start being like, hey, there's been RSS feed issues. I just want to reiterate them here, and probably I'll reiterate them in the next show, just because there's little I can do to fix it. So, long story short, folks, I messed around with the website to be able to get Artifexian.com to be the new home for the lore of what's happening on the main channel. That involved changing of domain names. Now, everything was fine with the changing of domain names, unless you added the feed to your podcast player manually. If you added the feed manually, your feed was now pointing at the wrong place. If you were using a podcast player, the feed would have updated itself. I know it works for iOS-based podcatchers, Google Podcasts, it works on Spotify. But if there's any sort of, if you went to Artifexian.com back in the day and manually inputted the RSS feed into your pod player, this feed will be broken now forevermore. There's no way we can do that. So the only thing you can do, and God, I hope you're listening to this on the YouTube version and not thinking that the show is dead because your feed is not updating. All you can do is go back to artifexianpodcast.com, links in the show notes, and enter manually the RSS feed. If you're so inclined, though my advocacy here would be try not to manually do these things if at all possible. I think it's so much better to just let a podcatcher crawl to the various directories and just pull it automatically. That way, if we update stuff, it'll just happen in the background and you'll never know about it. So just, again, PSA, RSS feed for manual users is broken. Please re-enter. Everyone else should be fine.
Cool.
And I apologize for the confusion that this caused. Turns out it was not as easy as I thought it would be. All right, that's number one. That's PSA. Number two, this is just completely unrelated to everything other than it's conlanging related. There's a site, I'm sure everyone's aware of this, called Fiat Lingua. A great resource. Links in the show notes. Definitely check it out. Recently, Jessie Sams of, I guess, LangTime Studio fame is how I know her the most, but she's done Conlang for various shows. She's a Conlanger. Put an article on Fiat Lingua that's Grambank feature lists for language documentation. Grambank is this new kind of like, I guess, a depository of information similar to WALS. Conlang nerds will know about this. And it has a nice information structure about it that is particularly useful for conlanging as a sort of checklist of things you may want to consider in a conlang. Jessie converted this into a really good Google sheet, which I will link in the show notes. I would encourage people to start using this. I will be starting to use this. It's great. The link, Bill, is on page 5, but users, show notes, descriptions, it'll be there. And it's just a really nice way of generating a features list and getting you, the conlanger, to ask questions like, does my language have articles? How are they working? Etc. etc. Really cool. Grambank, Fiat Lingua, Jessie Sams spreadsheet. Check them out.
Cool. This is comprehensive.
It's cool, isn't it? It's very cool. Yeah. And judging just from the pictures in Jessie's kind of article there, Grambank looks to have a larger source of languages or a larger bank of languages to draw on than WALS, which is awesome. And WALS already is That's the World Atlas of Language Surveys, is something like that. Is it that what it's called? Yeah,
I think so.
WALS is absolutely baller. Like, it's a wonderful, wonderful website. World Atlas of Language Structures, sorry. And any kind of, I guess, improvement or evolution thereof, which Grambank appears to be, is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So that's number two. Number 3, and then I'll pass it on to you, Bill, is Bank of Artifexia. We are going to put Bank of Artifexia in this part of the show because Green Room is going to be taken up with looking at the book A Master of Djinn by P. Djèlí Clark. So we'll do it here. We got a card from frequent letter writing correspondent Sam the Barber, who sends in 50 kroner, Danish kroner. Now, a couple of things here. One, I'm having incredible deja vu, and I really thought we talked about this on the show before. But according to the Bank of Artifexia money map, we have not talked about this. In fact, there's been no Danish currency submitted to the Bank of Artifexia. This is the first. But I'm looking at this and being like, I swear we looked at this on the show before. So if I'm repeating myself here, folks, and Bill, I'm really sorry, but we're going to go through it again. So Samuel the Barber writes, basically they were in Copenhagen with their partner, and so they were like, hey, here is some Danish money for you. They also asked me if they said they almost got some, quote, sal something licorice in the airport in Finland when we had a layover, but
Salmiak?
Yeah, exactly. But no, they write sal ...
All right.
Which, you know, Sam, your terrible friend. You should have sent me licorice. The other one says, my boyfriend asked you, have you had the Danish Spunk Liquorice? Spunk, apparently. I looked into this. No, I've not, but it sounds absolutely delightful. Danish Spunk Liquorice. It's on my licorice bucket list now, Sam. And then the money is 50 Danish krone. Which I think is particularly fun because it is in Danish. 50 is halvtreds, I think is how it's pronounced. And that literally translates as 3 minus a half times 20, which is just a very uniquely convoluted way of getting to the number 50 in language. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a wonderful feature of Danish. 70 is 4 minus a half multiplied by 20. 90 is 5 minus a half multiplied by 20. And it's absolutely glorious. So when I saw this banknote, I giggled. I was like, oh, Danish. So
that is
absolutely
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but it's lovely. As always, show notes, chapter art, you'll be able to see this banknote. Obverse, just real quick, we have the Sallingsund Bridge, which is a whopper bridge that connects some island in Denmark. I tried looking into it, see if there's anything in particular special about it other than its size. Not really, apparently. On the reverse, we have the Skarpsalling vessel, which again is, I think, an item of like historical note. And we also have a little map of where the bridge and the vessel are in Denmark in case you get lost. The watermark is the Skuld Djèlí Viking ship, which is apparently, again, a noteworthy archaeological find where they found like a whole bunch of Viking ships together. And I think they thought these ships were, I can't remember the name for it, but like ships that were designed or commissioned to be deliberately sunk to order to blockade rivers and stuff to save from maritime attack. Oh, cool. And that's what that archaeological site is, I think, based on limited research. And then, as always, everyone's favorite techno babble part here, or I guess like a finance babble part here. 50 Danish kroner is 7.19 USD, 6.71 euro, 630.23 Japanese yen, 5.79 Great British pounds, and 1.02 Chinese yuan. At the time of recording, markets may vary, and that is a really lightning fast Bank of Artifexia. Thank you, Sam. And now we have all but Iceland covered for the Bank of Artifexia map, and I'm pretty sure Iceland has its own currency, haven't I?
Yeah, I'm nearly positive it does.
Let me do a quick Google. Icelandic krona.
Yeah, krona. Yeah.
So that's the only one of Scandinavia left. And that it would be amazing if someone happens to holiday in Iceland or something and they want to ship me the lowest denomination of Icelandic note. We can be like Scandinavia complete. That would be a cool day. And so the final point of follow-up, this is lightning fast, I love it, there's so much to talk about today, is we got some artwork. I put out a call last episode, Bill, to be like, hey, we want some Soviet-era propaganda art, and the call was answered. Do you want to take us through this?
Yes, so we got sent 2 posters by listener Milo, based on a 1920s era Soviet poster.
Links in the show notes.
And you can probably put these up as chapter art.
Yep.
So I'll talk through the original Soviet one first of all. So this is kind of on an orange background. There's 3 right arms holding up the Cyrillic letters. Oh damn! How do I pronounce these? How do I say these? It's like VSY. It looks like BCE in the Latin script. And it says on it, workers for the re-election of the Soviets, or something to that effect. That's what Google Translate gave me. If I was to say it in Russian, it would be Trudящихся на перевыборы Sovetov. I definitely got the re-election word wrong, but anyway.
Send hate email to Bill, please.
So Milo's originals, there's one here, a black background with thick red text on top saying "They are among you," and 5 kind of glyph figures, 4 of which are white and 1 of which is red and has horns. And it says below, report possible enemies of Lansk to your local popular executive headquarters immediately. So it's telling the citizens of Lansk to be on the lookout for those who would betray the agitators and the labor movement.
Just for people, anyone new perhaps, do you want to just define what the Lansk popular executive is real fast?
Sorry, yes, of course. So in my world building and my writing for the last couple of years, it's mainly focused on a setting in which Lansk is one of the cities, and there is currently a sort of a labor movement uprising taking place there, in which the Lansk Popular Executive is one of the factions fighting against corruption and the mercantile companies that are bleeding everyone for labor and profit.
I enjoy this poster mainly because like the devil horns are completely unnecessary, and I just love that as an extra way to vilify the enemies of the Lansk Popular Executive. I love that because they could have just had it just red amongst white people. You totally get the point. 1 in 5 is an enemy of the Lansk Popular Executive, but it's like no 1 in 5 who's like a literal devil. I love that little bit of detail there. I think it's great.
So that's the first poster. It also there's a little bit of Among Us to it.
What I would suggest as an edit then, surely we should write "They are among us" and not "They are among you." That would be fun.
I think that might be a little on the nose.
Too on the nose. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that critique. All right, next poster.
Now the second one here is a red background. Along the bottom, there are 3 raised, clenched left fists. And above each is 1 letter, L, P, and E, standing for Lansk Popular Executive. Above the L, we have a pickaxe, like a glyph of a pickaxe. Above the P, there's a kind of a crossed hammer and that other kind of hammer that has a spike in the back. Not a claw hammer. I don't know what we'd call that. Is it a maul?
I've absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea.
Anyway, 2 crossed tools, and above the E there is a cog, like a cog wheel, a gear. And across the top it says, "We need you. The Lansk Popular Executive values your labor."
No, very cool.
Yeah, I like this one better.
You like this one better. I was about to ask about what's your opinions on them. No, it's really cool. They are so fun, but they make me sad at the same time because the color scheme of red, white, and black, which is the clear and obvious color scheme, it's always kind of associated with like negativity, kind of evilness, bad state-run propaganda. And like, they're the Artifexian colors. They are my favorite colors. And it's really frustrating. Like, why couldn't I just have grown up loving the color blue? Like everyone seems to do. Blue is so much more of like a neutral color. But if red is your favorite color, it's kind of like, there's so much negative connotation there. Whereas I find the color combination of red, white, and black to be just beautiful. But it comes with so much cultural baggage. I hate it. And it's all I wear. I don't own, aside from like exercising gear, I don't own clothes that are not red, white, or black. They're the only colors they're the only colors I wear. I guess you can call, gray. Shades of grayscale plus red are what I wear. And I just wish I lived in a world where that's considered fun and happy and not like Soviet Russia. Stark, yeah. So that saddens me.
So thank you very much, Milo. These are class. As I said, I particularly like this red background one. Thank you very much for sending these in.
We might even throw it up over Bill's narration if it's thematically fitting.
I don't have a narration this week. Remember?
In the future.
In the future, sure.
That might be kind of fun as opposed to the map every so often to throw this in. Whenever the LPE gets up to some shenanigans. Cool. Thank you, Milo. That was dope. Absolutely dope. Right. Follow up done? Question mark?
Follow up done. Tick.
All right. Main topic. I released a new video, Bill. It's a 45-minute whopper video that only came out yesterday, so I'm pretty sure you haven't watched it. Nor do I think we should talk about 45 minutes worth of me doing topography. The only thing I want to ask you about is the map I produced in said video in the show notes there for folks, and Bill, it's in our doc. Can you tell me what color, the non-brown colors, what color is that to your eyes? On the land, the non-browny red colors. What color is that?
Well, there's a green and there's a dark green.
There's a green and there's a dark green. Okay. That is the worst answer. Crap. So, you know, the plants of my world are meant to be... okay, well, first of all, it's definitionally kind of not. It's definitionally teal. Like, if you look at this in just out of context, and if I were to just give you a swatch, you would be like, oh, that's a teal color. But in context, it never looks teal to me, and you've confirmed what I've been feeling. I wanted you to tell me otherwise.
Teal is a kind of a green. I stand by it.
Oh, sure. But would you call this teal or would you call this green?
Colors are fake, man. I don't know.
I know, but the reason why I ask is that I said that the plants are meant to be kind of a tealy color.
Right.
Like, I kind of want to sell the idea that I want to give an image of what the plants look like, but I'm finding it really difficult to not make the world look green. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to find a teal that is evocative, is more bluey, but not blue. I'm finding it really difficult. So that's why I'm asking about what sort of color you see here. Do you see this being more green or more teal? Like, what does your brain immediately go to?
Green.
Okay, yeah. All right, okay. It is amazing how fuzzy colors are, because I brought this to the patrons, the main channel patrons, during a live stream, and I was like, what color do you think this is? And then everyone's like, it's kind of teal color. And I was like, well, could we move it more to the blue like this? And everyone was like, nah, don't do it. It doesn't look good. And I'm like, and I am reminded that next time, pinned to future Edgar when I make a world in like season 2 or whatever, there's no way in hell the plants are going to be anywhere near green on the spectrum, because it's so hard to sell that idea. Like, if they were red, not a bother. red, super easy. If they're purple, super easy to get that across. But because teal is so kind of like in the green wheelhouse, it's so hard to sell a teal effect and not make it either look blue or green. So your feedback there I'm going to have to do something about it, because it cannot be green. The response cannot be green. It has to be something other than green. It cannot be green.
But teal is... You're going to get some people who are going to say green when they see a teal.
Sure. I'm wondering maybe if it's worth just taking a bit of artistic liberty and just make it blue. So to sell the idea that it is not green. They're meant to be teal, but we're depicting them as blue here. Because any other sort of thing, any usage of teal proper here is just going to come across as green. So I might actually do that. And in many cases, I think it sells a sort of vibe of a monochromatic world that I'm going for. Because imagine how cool that would be, Bill, if we lived on a world where like the sea and water is like blue. I know it's rarely ever blue, but let's just say blue. And then like the plants all around you are kind of like a little bit of an off blue, and it's all monochrome. But then like when spring comes and flowers start happening, there's just like this, against this sort of bland backdrop, there's this like explosion of color. I think that's a really cool vibe. I think like color on this world will stand out more because of the monochromatic background. And I'd like to sell that in the map. So I think maybe going blue is a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to get your vibe check on that. Now on to the real stuff. What are we doing this month? I'm so stoked about this, Bill.
So this month we are going to start collabing on an Abheski language.
Yeah, because in the last recording, you had mentioned about the Soviet posters. You were like, oh, I'd have to probably make a language and like a script. And I get the impression that's not really something you're wildly into or have explored a lot before.
I'm definitely into it, but I just kind of... I'm into a lot of things, and that's kind of not super high on the list currently. And I wouldn't really know where to start.
I think knowing where to start is really difficult. I struggled with that a lot, like back a few years. But anyway, yeah. So I figured, I was like, this is great, right? Because I, if anyone's noticed, on the main channel, I'm doing zero conlang, because the whole plan is to build a world populated with animals, stick humans in it, then make up a language for said humans and like associated culture. That means that like conlang is like literal years away. And I'm really conscious of completely alienating folks who are only here for, only kind of follow my stuff and our stuff for the conlang sort of vibe. Mm-hmm. I'd like to find a way to do some conlanging in a way that doesn't disrupt the sort of like stated goals of the new series on the main channel. And the minute you mentioned like, oh, I'd have to do some conlang, I was like, well, I could do some conlang. And that could be how we do this portion of the show going forward. You do a little bit of narration, and then after that, I tell you about the next bit of the conlang that has occurred. You give me your feedback on it and tell me what you like and don't like. And I basically like help you craft the language that you would like Abheski to be. And we do that on the show. Not live. Like I'm going to prep it, folks. So it's not like we're going to be live doing conlanging in audio form. I think that's a recipe for disaster. Like it's going to be prepped, and we're going to do like analysis of what I've done, basically. And I think that's a really good way of going about it. The only other thing that I don't think I've mentioned to you, because it only just dawned on me very recently, is that I would like to work on the Abheski Lang on my Friday night main channel patron live stream, right? Every Friday night, for the patrons who patronize the main channel, I do a Friday night hangout stream where we do stuff that can range from working on calculators to drawing maps to learning about music to doing just random Edgar stuff. That would be a perfect way for the main channel patrons to still get their conlanging fix. If I could work on it there. Now, this means we're kind of like cross-pollinating genres here. Like our podcast world is bleeding a little bit more into our main channel world, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, I don't think, but I'd like your feedback on that in a second. And the other thing is, if we're going to do that, I'd also like to cross-pollinate patrons. So we have podcast patrons and we have main channel patrons. I think for the Friday nights where I'm working on Abheski on the stream, the 2 sets of patrons should be allowed in, basically.
Yeah.
Because it involves both of them. I'd imagine that there's a good deal of overlap, like people who support both. So I want to bring it to you and to the audience. Shall we allow this? Because there could be an argument made that like main channel patrons be like, well, you know, we're paying for this and they're not paying for this. Why are they getting this, etc.? Should we, with that in mind, should we allow this? And I guess, yeah, main channel patrons, are you okay with that? And podcast patrons, are you also okay with that? And I guess I would like a vibe check for the general format. I work on it on my own time, with some of the work being done on a Friday night on the main channel Patreon, which everyone should have access to if you're a patron. Bring it to Bill on the podcast recording once a month, analysis, edit, rinse and repeat. Let me know what you think of that format, both Bill now and audience members. And if tweaking needs to be done, we'll do it. So thoughts?
As regards the Patreon thing, is there will still be other stuff that the main channel patrons will have access to that so they will still have other benefits as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, okay, in that case that seems reasonably fair to me then, because you're just saying that this is an additional thing that other people can also pay to act, you know, what the podcast patrons are paying for. This is another thing that you're adding to that. So yeah, that seems fair to me.
Yeah, that's what I think. But again, nice to get a vibe check from the audience. I would be in agreement with you. Yeah. Now the rest of it.
Yes, I like this. I have a little kind of hesitation over like giving up control of it, but that's an internal thing.
No. Hold on. Wait. Sorry. I'm sorry to cut across you there. There's no giving up control. Like I am but your servant here. Like my job is to try and do the thing that you want to see happen, to make the language want to see happen. Like I'm not going to be coming along and being like, Jesus, Bill, like I really hate the direction you're going. Like the direction you want to go is the direction you want to go. And that's the whole reason why when we come once a month to talk about it, like it's me doing kind of exploratory, like information gathering to be able to implement what you want. It's your thing. I'm just your servant.
I mean, I was going to say that like I kind of just need to be comfortable with that, and but okay, even better.
yeah, for sure. I mean, look, allow me at some stage if you go like, I don't know, I'd like to throw in the bilabial trill, for example, just because and giggles. I might be like, doesn't fit here, Bill. Maybe something else. Like I'll suggest stuff, but like ultimately, it's just I'm implementing what you want, which is going to be a weird first for me because I've never actually started a language that someone else already has done some work in, because like as much as you haven't been conlanging, you have made up names of stuff and people, so you've already kind of laid a sort of phonological groundwork, and I've never had to like take that, analyze it, and then reconstruct what might be happening. So that's going to be a fun little challenge that I'm going to almost certainly make a fool of myself in doing, but here we are. So yeah, you get comfortable with it. It'll be fine, Bill. Don't worry. It's all about you, not me.
Okay. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Here's hoping. And I suppose the caveat I'll put here is that remember, everyone, we record once a month, so this is going to be the world's slowest conlang. Okay, we all need to be comfortable with this. This is not like we'll get it done in like a month or two. This is like we might get it like air quotes done in like on the order of years, because it's only because like Bill has his own life to deal with. I have main channel stuff to deal with. This is very much a kind of like little extra fun thing we're doing almost as a little side project. It is not the main focus of what we're doing, so it'll take a lot of time. Please be comfortable with this. Please don't send me email being like, hey, when will this be done? The answer is just assume the answer is never. If we all just assume that that's the answer, we're on a good footing. So all right, with that in mind, Shall we start?
Let's.
All right. So you have made a Google Doc entitled Abheski Words. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I should say what we're going to do today is we're just going to look strictly at phonology. We're going to do analysis of the sort of terms and names and all that crack that Bill has come up with. And we're just going to look to see what sort of phonological trends are going on. I'm going to get a vibe check from Bill of what sort of sounds he would like, etc. So we're not doing anything grammar related, because there is you can get some grammar out of what Bill has already done here, but we're pushing that down the road. With that in mind, you have made this spreadsheet called Abheski Words. Can we link this spreadsheet for the folks?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. We'll link this so you can have a look. It's basically a big list of people. Hold on. Can I edit this? Have you given me editing permission?
Yes. Yes, you have edit permission.
Devint is a thing. You should include that. I know it's not a person.
I have.
Where's Devint?
On the third sheet, assorted.
Wait, there's multiple sheets? Oh, I totally missed that. Oh, there's even more. Oh my god. Okay, we need to talk about Abhesk. That is a weird phoneme you got going there. Okay. General notes. Used as a genitive suffix, correct? Yeah. Okay, great. So we have spreadsheet. Oh, this is so cool. There's even more than I thought there was. We have a spreadsheet here with people, places, assorted, and general notes, all containing terms that Bill has come up with. So maybe we should go through this sheet by sheet, and you tell me about your thoughts on the sort of data you've gathered, yeah?
Sure.
Okay, so in the people sheet, what is noteworthy here to your eyes? Or ears, rather?
I mean, I wasn't coming up with this just kind of starting from nothing. I had a sort of a sonic picture of what I wanted it to sound like.
Good.
So I would actually sometimes write words in Cyrillic when trying to create names and come at it from that direction. And kind of try and put myself in sort of a Slavic kind of sound world, or at least my inaccurate idea of what that would be. So there's definitely a bit of that kind of influence here.
This is kind of jumping ahead to stuff I want to ask you later, but I'll do it now. Can you describe that sort of like Slavic sound world? What when you think Slavic languages, what are you thinking in terms of like phonology, in terms of the sound of them?
Well, more affricates than are in English. Is affricates the right word?
That largely depends. Can you make the sound of an African? I can tell you.
Like shchel, like sh kind of sounds, kind of complex consonants happening together.
Okay, well that sounds to me like consonant clusters.
Yeah, but not just clusters. Like there's specific ones.
But also with like palatalization going on there as well.
Yeah, there's definitely some palatalization. Yeah, that's very Slavic.
Okay, and so you would be in agreement that like heavy palatalization is maybe a thing that exists in your like pseudo-Slavic sound world?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And same goes for big consonant clusters, which you've already established can exist. So I'm assuming that is a thing you would like.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Of specific sounds that I have included that may not seem like a natural fit to that is, oh my god, I can't remember what it's called. The voiceless alveolar lateral fricative is in this.
The SLA sound, isn't it?
Yes, like the Welsh double L. And in fact, that's how I have transcribed it when I've been writing things. And it was in the very first name that I came up with, everyone's favourite Yar to Yarthlin. And that's the sound I'm trying to do there in Yarthlin.
Yarthlin. Okay.
So that sound is in there.
Okay, so that sound is going to be there. Okay, yeah, okay, grand.
Other specific sounds, je, like in dajag.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, and also in the name dajag to shansha, a kind of a nasal quality to some vowels, maybe. I've been trying to pronounce it that way.
Is that I don't remember an awful lot of nasalization happening. Is that something that's isolated to Dejag, to Sheng? I can't even do Chencha.
I don't think I was making an effort to do it anywhere else necessarily. No.
Okay, but that is potentially something you'd like to see, kind of maybe as a feature of language, nasal vowels.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm taking notes. Apologies if my responses are. Okay, yeah, grand. You have here for oh my god, like was it Everich? You've noted here the velar fricative for Everich. Yeah. Is that noteworthy?
I don't know. I just did want to make a note of it when I was making this list yesterday. It was just like, that is, make sure that it is there, because it's not in a lot of varieties of English.
Okay. Oh, you're highlighting non-English things. Okay, yeah.
Not necessarily. Like, I didn't have a specific methodology for the things I highlighted, to be honest. It was just, I thought of that, I better include it.
Yeah, feelings.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so just quickly scanning these names, maybe this would be better done at the end of looking at all 4 sheets. I am realizing. Hold on, give me a second. Let me just look through this.
Oh, I've one more note actually.
Yeah, just let me not lose my train of thought for a second. Hold on.
Sure.
So, I am seeing, unless I'm very much mistaken, I'm seeing a distinct lack of complex clusters in onset position. Word initial complex clusters. I have highlighted here, was that Slovata?
Slovata, yeah.
And Reminden. Remaden. And then...
And there's Tsodena, 45. Tsodena.
Yeah, but Tso would just be an affricate, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Well, I would imagine that, like, the way you pronounce it sounds like Tsodena, like like the German, like tsunami or zwei. So that I wouldn't call that a complex cluster. But a lot of them are not like that. And even when we look through the places thing, we don't have an awful lot of what I would kind of class as like Russian level complex clusters, which is interesting.
Yeah.
In onset. Now, obviously, word medial, so like in the middle of a word, you got a lot of stuff going on. But that's word medially, it's usually more free. So that is interesting. So, like, do we take any data from that? Do we say that, like, we should minimize the role of these Slavic-like massive clusters, or it's just that this sample set is so small that you haven't got a chance to like invent more of them? What's the commonality of these, do you think?
I don't know. My gut is kind of saying, yeah, let's say that they don't tend to happen in as much in onset. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have a few of them, as you pointed out, Slovata.
I mean, we have 2.
Yeah. So I mean, it's there, but it's not super common.
Slovata is interesting as well. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry, you had one more point. I could have crossed you.
Well, this actually I can kind of come up in places as well if we want to shift over into that.
Let's shift over into places.
The use of or nearly as a vowel. So I have that in the name Ermeden, and then in the name of which is a personal name that I have on the first sheet there, and also one of the locations that I refer to a lot is Mirsver, and there's like that V or at the end that it's nearly like a vowel there.
Yeah, you've a syllabic liquid.
That's the syllabic I was going to think of, yeah.
Yeah. Just as a matter of interest, do you ever use the L in a similar vein?
I don't know that I have yet, but I would be open to that.
Okay, syllabic liquids, wonderful. And that's fun because we could try and like evolve. In evolving syllabic liquids, you can get complex clusters for free, which is kind of cool. Syllabic liquids, nasal vowels, palatalization. Okay, grant. While we're on the places tab here, we have the word Abhesk. Can you pronounce that, please?
Abhesk.
Abhesk. Okay.
Abhesk.
So
Yeah.
So you have pronunciation notes here where you show like an aspirated B. That's something you specifically want. So like you'd want a series of stop consonants that have this like breathy, murmured quality to them.
I think so.
Okay. That is intriguing. I have not worked with this before, so short of actually, I did. Sometimes that series of stops is useful in tonal genesis, so that's going to be interesting. So aspirated.
Well, I think I was thinking a bit of like the way it sounds in certain Indian languages.
Yeah, which is a feature of those languages.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is breathy in that case, is it?
It is, yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, I see it here on, the four-way distinction, aspirated, and it's this is in Sanskrit, Bengali, Marathi, and Gujarati. Yeah, the voice aspirated is done as a breathy in the transcription here. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I could have sworn that Punjabi had the four-way distinction, but it does not. It has voiceless stops, aspirated voiceless stops, and voice stops. Mm-hmm. I could have sworn that that was the thing. Oh, can I interject with language talk that you probably find horrifically boring, but it was an absolute revelation to me.
Always, so
I got a visit from a family member whose wife is Burmese.
Okay.
And just talking about Myanmar and the like, it inspired me to go look up Burmese, like the language and what it's doing. Mm-hmm. And at least according to Wikipedia, and at least last time I checked, Burmese has a super useful consonant, and that is the aspirated S sound, which is like whopper rare, like very, very, very rare, and very rare for it to be phonemic. But again, according to Wikipedia, that is a thing. And I am so happy with this because I need to, for an upcoming project, I need this phoneme there to do a thing. And I've always been like ambivalent about it and kind of like you're very useful here. And I know you exist like as allophones, like Korean has it as an allophone as far as I remember. But I was like, I need you to be a proper full-fledged sound. And I never found evidence of it being a proper full-fledged sound. And I'm so happy that I stumbled across Burmese, and I don't even care if Wikipedia got it wrong. I'm like, if Wikipedia says it's good enough for me. So I'm so happy. It was really, really fun. But yeah, such a regression. I'm really sorry. So you're doing a little bit of ejection of like Indian subcontinent in there, or to put another way, a bit of PIE, because PIE had that series of breathy voiced stops as well. It did, yeah. Shock horror, Proto-Indo-European, so. So that's a fun addition. One that I actually didn't realize you were doing. I was trying to think about your sonic world, and I never once clocked that the BH was the thing you romanize as BH is literally that stop series. So that's interesting. Anything else on the places tab other than that and the syllabic liquid?
Obviously I use a lot of the in my sound world here.
I believe there's no w.
Well, that's now. So some of the place names I do have are for places outside of the kind of the Abheski cultural region. So we do see a w in Ebwar.
Yeah, but we could say it's just a loanword thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure about some of these, because some of them do kind of fit, like Nalmia and Atramia could be kind of, they could fit into that same sound world as well. So maybe some of these are loan words, some of them are Abheski words for neighboring places. That will have their own unique names for themselves, like unrelated names for themselves. So I've noted those down there, that the other places, which are Ebwar, Hene, Anshes, Nalmia, Atramia, Hoitan, and Erthan. Well, the Erthani is a culture, not a place, but you get me. They're not Abheski.
but again, the E there is the genitive suffix, so it's of Earthan. So you'd imagine Earthan would actually be the place, like the people of Earthan.
Well, it's not a place because they are a totally nomadic people. But it's genitive of Earthan, even if Earthan isn't a place. Yeah.
Oh well, then I'm assuming Earthan would probably be river. Of river, people.
It could be the word river.
It could be the word river. Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, potentially.
But anyhow, that doesn't matter because that's not an Abheski word. That's not what we're doing here. So yeah, I mean the lack of a W is completely fine, and I think I'm going to get this wrong. I think in fitting with a Slavic thing, is it Polish where it's a V instead of a W? Is it Polish?
I don't know.
Hold on. Sorry. On the fly research, I will cut all of this. Hold on. I'm such an idiot, Bill.
Agreed.
It's Russian.
Why?
It's Russian. That's the big one. Like.
All right.
So I'm sure other Slavic languages also have a V in lieu of W, but Russian has it, which makes sense. So cool. Yeah, that's a further indicator of a sort of Slavic vibe. That's awesome. Making a note of that.
Other things on this page. I do use double letters in two places. In Usin, which is the mountain range. I think that's more kind of a kind of the fact that I'm writing in a sort of an English language idiom. I don't think that carries huge meaning there.
But can you pronounce the word Usin and the word Selin?
Usin, Selin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, if you want, you could make those genitive if you want. So it's just a longer S. So it'd be like Selin and Usin.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've been saying it that way though.
Okay. Yep. That's fine. That's fine.
And
you've sorry to cut across. You've double vowels as well. Is
Yes.
vowel length a thing that you've been doing, or you would like?
Not consciously.
Okay. Would you like to look at vowel length?
No, I'm not bothered about vowel length.
Okay. Grant. That's fine.
Yeah, I have it there for the town of Trier or something. I don't know. There's a couple of things here where I should probably go back and check how I pronounced these, like Trier, and for number 15 there as well, Porad or Parad or whatever, the DH. I'm not sure if that's meant to be like a
th sound or the sound.
Yeah, was that a voiced dental fricative?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're not sure if it's that or it's a aspirated stop.
Yeah, it could be either. Yeah. I might go back and check which I pronounced it at when I recorded that the extract that appears in.
Yep, cool.
But yeah, it could be aspirated or breathy or whatever.
Okay. The other thing I want to ask about is coda clusters. You're allowing coda clusters in a city like Lansk. Mm-hmm. You're allowing 2 clusters there. But it's not. Again, it's not something that seems to be a trait of the language. There's very little coda clusters going on. We have Borsov C Irens. So we have an NS license perspective. We get a little bit of that, but not too much. So I'm assuming again that is something. Are we chalking this up to a mistake, or are we encoding that? We're saying that coda clusters are also allowed.
Yeah, they're allowed. Yeah, they're allowed.
Yeah. Cool. Grand. Okay. Anything else on the places page?
I don't think so.
Okay. The assorted. Okay. So we've 2 vessels, and then we have the various companies. And there's so few words here. Do you want to just like read them out there so we can get a vibe of the sound world?
Sure. Lotil, Veil Ada, the Tamar Company, the Eltian Company, the Valden Company, Arvix and Urselk, and Dvint.
Again, yeah, I'm seeing evidence of coda clusters, evidence of, non-English onset clusters, palatalization in like the Eltian,
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's not Elchin, it's Eltien. So you really are palatalizing that T and not turning it into an affricate. That's fun and interesting.
Sometimes I've subscribed that with a J and sometimes with a Y. Don't worry too much about trying to make those mean different things necessarily, I would say.
Yeah, I kind of reserve the right a little bit to mess with your romanization if needs be.
Yeah.
We can just call it a standardization. It's fine. We see previous episode for talks on standardization of writing systems. But yeah, okay, cool. Anything in this assorted page that is noteworthy?
Now, Urselk, I'm not really sure about whether that's really the word that they say, because I did make that by jamming like real word words together. It's a bear with antlers, an Ursus, and an elk. But maybe it fits. I don't know. It'd be kind of fun if it did. I don't specifically object to it, but I'm not super tied to it either.
Sure. And this was the bear deer hybrid thing going on. Was this in this word? Of course it was in this word, because this is, I keep forgetting that Cairn is romance. Because I keep thinking like these creatures are in romance. Then I'm like, oh no, but romance is Cairn.
Yeah.
We changed that years ago. I got to say, Bill, there was a very successful rebranding, probably because romance was just a very obvious placeholder name.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and I worry about this on the main channel, where down the line, like years later, I'm going to be like, now lads, it's time to change the name of the planet from CRETAK to what it actually should be. And everyone's just scrolling. From CRETAK.
CRETAK.
Oh yeah, you haven't watched the latest video. Yeah, in the latest video, I was like, there's placeholder names all over the website now. Go check them out. So the planet is called CRETAK. The continents are called Esri, Degra, and Jannar. Mm-hmm. Do you notice a trend? Just
no.
In those? No. Okay, if I said that the southern continent was called...
hold on a second.
Oh.
Say them again.
Esri, Jannar, and Degra. Or it could be Degra, I can't remember.
Well, that last one could be your name. Reversed. Like, messed around with.
If I told you the southern continent was called Picard, would that be a bit of a hint?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so I'm just mining names from Star Trek and just spattering them all over the thing. But these are actual names. So my worry is that people will just come to know the planet as being CRETAK, and I'll have a terrible job trying to get them out of that. But look, that's fine. It's better than saying...
It's a future Edgar problem.
That's exactly. Let future Edgar, let that guy deal with it.
I hate that guy.
Tell me about it. What an Egypt. Okay, so then we have page 4. We have literally general notes. You have -e used as a genitive suffix. I agree.
Yeah.
That would make sense. I mean, I guess it's a little bit unfortunate that you chose that, because it is shock and Earth-like, obviously. And not just Earth-like, like it's indicative of languages that, most of the listeners listening would use. But that's what we have, so we need to go with it. Yeah.
Maybe we don't need to. I mean, maybe we could say that's just a artifact of the fact that I've been putting it into English, but I mean, I don't see why not either.
No, I reckon go for it. Like, we should try and leave these terms as undisturbed as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. There will be things, I would imagine, through the evolution of this language that would just be like, listen, we can no longer have Bowrin. It's got to be boring. I'm sorry, it's just not happening.
Yeah. We haven't really talked about vowels at all, because vowels are very, very fake to me. So.
Yeah, vowels are like a spectrum, and consonants are like stairs, is the way I think about it. Like, it's a very distinct, with consonants, there's very distinct cutoffs between the consonants. But with vowels, it's just like, who knows or who cares? Like, it's mad. And also the IPA is kind of crap at transcribing some vowels, like the low vowels, for example. It's all just a nightmare. So good that you're not wedded to any of these, because they will almost certainly move around the place. Yeah. Okay. That is okay. So that is enough kind of fodder for me to go ahead and craft a couple of inventories.
Okay. Can I add one more idea?
Yes, go for it.
Now, this isn't something that I think I've put in yet, but it is still reasonably Slavic, I feel. It would be cool if we could have the what is it? It's in Czech. Let me check what it's called here. The voiced
check.
The voiced alveolar fricative trill. So that's like the or with the caret on top of it in Czech. So it's kind of doing a trilled or and a sh at the same time.
In Czech.
Yeah, it's not in the word Czech. It is in the Czech language.
No. Yes, the Czech language. Oh, okay. Hold on. It's yeah. Oh, yeah. You want that? Oh God. Okay, you want that? Excellent. Sure. I'll try and make that happen, I guess. Wow. I mean, can you pronounce that? Absolutely.
In some positions, kind of.
And you can make that distinct from like r followed by j, like you can make it distinct because according to Wikipedia, many foreigners pronounce that phoneme as or plus j, but that is apparently not meant to be the case because it contrasts with or plus j in Czech words.
Well, now I'm on the spot.
I mean, well, no, I'm not asking you. No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not asking you to pronounce it. I'm saying, like, we can totally throw in sounds that that you can't pronounce. You just need to be comfortable that you can't pronounce the sounds for future stuff. Like that is a thing for you. Oh my God! Of course, it's in Dvorak.
Yeah. And I went to a festival in Jaromír.
Okay, I have no idea about the history of that phoneme. I'm gonna have to do some research. As always, I can attempt to make it happen, but just good luck pronouncing it. So we're gonna have. That's nice. I like that. That's cool. Anything else on that?
As regards like phonology specifically, I don't think so. I think that's kind of. That's the guts of it.
Okay, cool. And like I said, I'll try and craft. So we'll do the naturalism thing where we'll work from proto-lang and evolve forward. So I'll try and craft some proto-inventories, come up with a story about how we get there, how we might, in theory, get from there to something like what you got here. We'll talk about that on possibly the next show, maybe even next show thereafter. Remember, this is a long project, folks. And you can give your thoughts, rinse and repeat, edit, all that sort of jazz. Happy?
Sure.
All right. Let us now stop and save. I shouldn't say that. That is like breaking the fourth wall. It's letting people know that we don't record this all in one go.
They're actually listening to it live when we're doing the YouTube premiere.
That's it. Yeah, that's us talking. Yeah, we are both talking and typing at the same time.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go into Green Room because we're going to talk about a book, and I am excited.
Okay, let's do it. Green Room.
Okay, Green Room book review. Master of Djinn, P. Djèlí Clark. Links in the description. Now, it has been a month since I've read this. So, Bill, can I get you to take the lead and be MC here? Because I may have forgotten some details.
Okie doke.
But before I switch over, just the usual caveat, there is no more content after this. Spoilers for the book Master of Djinn. If you want to read it, stop now. Come back to this later. No further content. You're not missing anything if you stop here. Heads up. All right? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go.
So, The Master of Djinn, as you said, is by P. Djèlí Clark. And it is set in Cairo in 1912, 40 years after the return of magic to the world.
Ooh.
And the main character is an agent for the Egyptian Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities, who was named Fatma El Sha'arawi. Fatma El Sha'arawi. And will I give a plot summary?
Yeah, do.
So the plot is essentially an investigation and manhunt into a figure who claims to be the return of Al-Jahiz, who was the mystic who returned magic to the world 40 years prior and has since disappeared and is assumed dead or whatever. So this figure claims to be Al-Jahiz returned to the world, and Fatma must stop him
at all costs. That's a really good summary, actually. It's like steampunk alt Cairo. Is the sort of vibe.
Genie punk.
Genie punk. Oh my god, Djinn punk. That is totally the name of the show. Actually, no, we should probably call this show like the Abheski Lang, because like announcement wise, but Djinn punk is great, or Genie punk. I love that. For anyone who's seen season 1 of Korra, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legends of Korra, this is basically that, but set in Cairo. Like this follows the same. Like there's this big bad, and everyone's like, "Who is this? This guy, this like masked evildoer?" And it's up to the good guys to chase him around the place and uncover who he is and save the day. Very much Korra sort of vibes I got from this.
Okay, can we put a pin in that, because I'm going to come back to that point at the end.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, that's all I was going to say. Just that as a way of kind of describing, to kind of like sell this to people. If people are like, if you're not already sold on, 1912's Cairo steampunk but with magic, it's The Legend of Korra but in a different context, which is quite fun. But yeah, given that we've done the summary there, what are your thoughts? Good book, bad book, and elaborate.
I really enjoyed the world building. At first, I was like, 40 years is a bit short for it to have changed as much as described. Like, it's like Egypt is kind of the great world power nearly. But then I was thinking, it's been less than 40 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall, and that seems like such a long ago time, and things have changed like a bunch of times since then in our world, in our lifetimes. So maybe that was a bit harsh of me in the first place.
Yeah, I think so.
I really liked the world building, and I thought it interacted with historical reality in kind of interesting ways. Like there's a scene where there's a peace conference, and there's all these dignitaries from around the world, and they are mostly real people.
Like Kaiser Wilhelm is at it.
Yeah. So there's I made a list here. The Kaiser Wilhelm, President Poincaré of France. There's a Russian Grand Duke Yakov Zhilinsky. They're the 3 named characters who appear at it. And there's also, he's not named, but Lige Iyasu, who was become the Emperor of Ethiopia in 1913, is there. Mm-hmm. There's like a mention of a teenage boy, presumably the heir to the dying emperor, which would make sense. At first, I thought that would be Rastafari, but he didn't become emperor till a little bit later. And there's a character who's called Umar Tal, who was like the herald of Al-Jahiz. He foretold the coming of this guy who would return magic. That's also a historical figure. He was the founder of the Tukulek Empire in like West Africa, like Mali kind of area. And there's real battles. So just things happened the other way, like Tel al-Kabir was a battle between Egyptians and the British, which I think in reality the British won. But in this, the Egyptians won. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. And like the Berlin Conference happens in this timeline, but instead of being about the white nations deciding who gets to colonize which bits of Africa, It's deciding how they're going to stand up against the fact that Africans have magic now.
It's like a reverse sort of vibe going on there.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing happens, but for kind of a sort of an inverted reason almost. So there's a lot of good stuff. But I didn't really enjoy a lot of stuff about the book at the same time. I didn't like the prose that much. There was bits where the prose felt kind of clunky and didn't really land. There was bits of it that felt really anachronistic in the dialogue.
Sorry, have you got an example?
There's something about like where they refer to a character being worn out from using magic, from fighting or something, and it's like the battery is fully drained. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. That feels a little like, even in the context of the book, there isn't that much to do with electricity in their technology, and that just felt a little out. That was the one I remember. There was a few other places that I felt it didn't ring true, and it felt a bit modern. And I thought the pacing of it felt kind of clunky or something as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So overall, like as I said, I really liked the world building and kind of what it was doing with like playing with the colonialism, and like it was a very rich setting, even without the invented elements and the fantasy and stuff. Like it was, it was Cairo as this incredibly multi-ethnic, multicultural city, even taking away anything to do with whites or Europeans. It's like the Middle East and all the different parts of Africa and stuff, and the Ottomans, and just even only considering them, it was this incredible blended culture, which is just a thing I really loved seeing represented.
Hold on. I'm taking notes of what you said. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. Can you talk more about why you thought the pace was clunky? What do you mean by clunky?
It's hard to explain exactly, but for like the first kind of half or maybe 2/3 of the book, it was like they'll go somewhere, and then Al Jahiz will turn up, and then there'll be a bit of fallout from that, and then they'll go to something else, and Al Jahiz will turn up, and they'll go to something else, and then Al Jahiz will turn up, and it like by the third time it happened, I was just like, yeah, well, of course, obviously that's what's going to happen. I mean, there's no shock or anything to this, and it I don't know, it felt kind of perfunctory.
Okay. So perhaps may I speculate that clunky is maybe not the correct word, because clunky would imply like transitions are ill executed. Because from my perspective, it like this thing flowed like water, but it was just a little bit like, I would define it as being a bit childish. The way the prose works, just like what you said, is like, oh, we go to like X spot and then bad guys there, and then there's like a fight or a chase, and then next spot, like these like I guess set pieces or whatever like flowed really well from one another. It's just that I disagree with what's actually going on, which is different from clunky.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, because so we're in agreement on that. I agree with that as well. Yeah. So I guess we're on the peace conference, just because you brought the peace conference up. The part of the book where I stopped taking, so I like this book. I thought it was fun, but it's nothing more than just a bit of lighthearted fun. I don't think this is like a deep book, or I don't think this is a book that has much to say. It does on the surface, but I think not below it. It's popcorn, I think, which I find really weird because it won a bunch of awards, and you'd think there'd be more substance to it then. So maybe I'm just completely wrong, but I had a lot of fun reading it. But that doesn't really mean I enjoyed it. Much like if I eat a bunch of popcorn, it's great crack, but then I feel a little bit queasy afterwards, And the point of the book where I stopped trying to find the seriousness in the book and just got okay with the sort of wacky ride that we're on is during that peace conference when Kaiser Wilhelm shows up, and he's just got like a goblin dude, like a magical goblin imp or whatever, just on his shoulder. And that's because the Germans have made an alliance with some magic people because they realize that they're behind in sort of colonial dogfight to become the biggest colonial thing. So they sided with magic, etc., etc. All of which is very interesting and like ties into the real world. Like Germany was behind on the empire tech tree, and a lot of the choices that were made in the wars were kind of based on that. So that's an interesting thing to go for. But like the presentation of like Wilhelm with like essentially like a pirate parrot on his shoulder was just like, I was just kind of like, I can't take this serious. Like this is just stupid. Like, come on. And then at that point, I just was like, this is, I mentioned in the last show, it's like the cavalry charge on a Star Destroyer. I'm like, this is great crack. It means nothing. Like, what are we doing here? But it's great crack. So yeah, did you feel the same way? I suppose to sum that, I felt the integration of magic into this setting was at times very silly. Did you feel this way?
Not particularly, no. I didn't mind that so much. What I didn't like in that scene is I thought the characters behaved very kind of implausibly. Like these great diplomats just like bickering like children and kind of giving away loads of information with everything they said, and then it turns into a brawl. And that just felt really silly.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was just kind of.
Well, listen, if they
the Kaiser is arguing with the Grand Duke, and then a French diplomat punches a Prussian in the background. It's like, oh, come on, that didn't ring true for me at all.
I mean, your man Kaiser Wilhelm was like, I think it was known that he was just like a big tempestuous child. That seemed kind of fitting with his character.
Perhaps, yeah. But then, you'd think he'd have like handlers or something that would stop him from doing things like that.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair. More on the magic thing. So your man P. Djèlí Clark is we're getting into dangerous territory here, right? Because like culture and race and stuff here. So please stop me if this is what's the word? Beyond the pale? Is that the word I'm looking for? Out of bounds?
I don't know.
I don't know either. So your man P. Djèlí Clark is an American, right? Mm-hmm. And he was born, and it looks like raised in New York. Certainly born in New York. He spent his early years living in his parents' original home of Trinidad and Tobago, New York, then Texas, etc. This is not a man of that neck of the woods and of that culture. And I wonder about the sort of like, I don't know, the kind of cultural appropriation of it. It felt a little bit to me, reading it, the kind of way people sometimes portray like Irish folklore and culture and use it to make kind of like fantastical works of art. And like, you know, the thing, like the Ifrits show up, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, is this a kind of like hyper-real depiction of what an Ifrit is? I don't know. I'm not of a sort of Arab culture. Or is this like a westernized, bastardized version of what these kind of like known mythological like entities are? And the whole way through the book, I couldn't stop thinking that. So I couldn't really get immersed. I wonder again, did you feel any of that at all?
I know what you mean. Yeah, the parallel that I thought was actually kind of with Black Panther, which is a very American kind of idea of, it's like it's an American fantasy about Africa. And I read criticism of Africans of the film on that basis. So I'd wondered, would there be a similar thing here, that it is very much coming from an American or outside perspective. I don't have the answer to that. I don't have the ability to answer that question, but it was a thing I did wonder.
That's the thing, yeah. And yeah, I agree. I can't answer it either, but it stopped me from getting down with it, because at the back of my head, I was kind of like, oh boy, is this the equivalent of the Irish fairies going on here? You know, so that just it hindered, I think, my taking it seriously, not my enjoyment, my taking it seriously.
And the other kind of similar thing I had was, there's a couple of scenes where the villain is like appealing to the downtrodden in Cairo. It's like, oh, you know, the the authorities, they don't care about you, and they're just using you, and they're going to ally with the West who want to exploit you. And that was like, that's again, it's not dissimilar to how the Black Panther film played out. It was like, well, the bad guy is making some good points here.
I mean, but that's good. That is good. Like, the bad guy clearly, like, seemed to come across before, like, unveiling and all that crack, as being kind of like a person of the people, who was kind of like let's do a bit of, like, class warfare here, for God's sake. We're all, like, at the bottom of the barrel. We don't need to be at the bottom of the barrel. Can we all just, like, move up? I like that, though. I like when the and it has parallel to Korra as well, where in Legend of Korra, the bad guy is, like, anti-bending. And it's kind of like there's, like, a class of society being constructed here between those who can bend and those who can't bend. And his whole shtick is, like, I can remove the power to bend as a sort of great equalizer. And, like, depending on your persuasion, you what? Say again?
I said, oh God.
Yeah, I know, right. But depending on your persuasion, you can be like, that is, like, a great kindness to society, or horrific, like, non-consensual, almost R-word sort of thing, like non-sexual R-word. And that sort of, like, ambiguity is what makes it really good. So I actually thought the character of Al-Jahiz, the imposter, who's pretending to be Al-Jahiz, as they believe, was quite good. It was quite good. But it was, like you said, it was silly that he just kept popping up and being like, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah. I would like some time for that guy to actually be the good guy, though. Yeah. Once in a while.
I mean, yeah, it would
rather than, like, they constantly, like, oh well, no, we're gonna be okay with the status quo, and the people who are criticizing it are only using it for political gain or for their own means. Sometimes it'd be nice to have the other.
I would agree with that. It'd be fun to read a book where you halfway through you figure out you've been rooting for the bad guys and you need to do a switch. That would be good. That would be kind of fun. Definitely kind of fun. The more on the kind of, like, I guess, potential misrepresentations of this neck of the woods is, and I think you talked about this with Black Panther before, but there's, I don't know, it feels a little bit like odd that it's like there are a non-trivial amount of works that are depicting cultures from Africa that are like, you are now extremely powerful in this old timeline, and it was because, like, magic happened. Like, it's not because, like, we re-rolled the dice on history and, like, politically Egypt just happened to do extremely well and assert itself as being a pure powerhouse. It's like, no, the literal laws of physics and reality needs to be broken in order for some culture from Africa to become a dominant player.
Right. So, like, do you mean it's kind of, it seems like it's almost offensive because it's denying them actual agency, and that they need magic to. Yeah, a little bit like that. Totally. I see your point. Yeah, I don't know I'd agree, but I see what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's going on here, but it just, again, there's just these thoughts. But as soon as I found out your man Clark was American, I'm kind of like, again, is this the equivalent of an American writing about Irish culture in a hyper real way? Is this what's going on here? And then suddenly the whole idea of, like, magic as kind of global power becomes a little bit weird feeling, perhaps, but I don't really know. It was just, again, a hindrance to, like, serious enjoyment. Another thing on my end is this I found, again, just extremely fun. The whole book, I think, is an exercise in escalation pornography, where it's like, it starts off relatively tame with, like, our main character running into a disgruntled genie or djinn in some inner city Cairo place or whatever. And, like, obviously that's fantastical that there's, like, an actual genie in Cairo, yada, yada, yada. But it's not, like, it's not presented as being anything grand. And by the end, if I remember correctly, a manor gets swallowed in on itself, and out of the, like, sinkhole emerges, like, a a mech, like an anime, a steampunk, like Arabic anime mech thing with like littered with ifrits just manning it, and it just walks through Egypt, this towering behemoth of a thing. And it's like the book just gradually escalated. Like every single thing happened was bigger and grander, and at the end I was like, of course, an entire property gets, a mansion gets swallowed, an estate gets swallowed whole, and out of the ashes arises a mech giant. Of course, this is what's happening, and it was very fun and extremely silly.
Yeah, that bit was. I was like, I felt like we were in a different genre nearly.
It was weird. It was very,
Clockwork
very
Djinn Mecha.
Exactly. Which I just thought was absolutely mental. Now, the final point I have, and again, it's a more serious point, so excuse me if I butcher my kind of terminology and verbiage here. I want to talk about the gender politics, because I read, I can't remember where, when I was deciding whether or not to get this book, that it was kind of like a bit of a feminist sort of book, deals with kind of feminist issues, etc. And reading it, I was like, no, it doesn't. Like, and it kind of, I won't say it annoyed me, but it got close to, it was a bit kind of like lib stuff, do you know, where it's like, it's feminism in the sense that, yes, there are female characters. Like, okay, but we're not actually really talking or doing anything here or making points. It's like, you know, the only thing I can think of that was like feminist was the fact that the main character and her sidekick were women in what was previously a male-only occupation. And I'm like, but it's currently not a male-only occupation. So what? We missed the feminist part where we talked about how that got changed. We just kind of went straight to the output, you know. And then there's very little sort of like watching the pair of them struggle in like a male-dominated world to kind of like hold the lens up at our world. It's just kind of like, this is feminism because like lead female, and that's just kind of really cheap and not very like satisfying, I thought, anyways. And you know, I don't know, like I wouldn't exactly call this like a great.
I fully agree with that.
Okay, well, talk to me. I want you to tell me why I'm wrong, because I clearly am wrong here. Because, like, again, in the research, people were like praising it for its kind of gender politics. So, like, I don't understand what I'm missing here.
So, as regards the job thing, it's very much not a finished struggle to achieve the job equality, and the main character has to kind of undergo her own understanding of that she isn't taking her new partner seriously because her new partner is a woman, and that she like wants the new partner to have to kind of suffer in the same way that she did and struggle in the same way that she did, rather than just taking her seriously right away. So she's got her kind of own little arc in there. And I think just like throughout, women are kind of presented on parity with men, that it doesn't necessarily need to be a struggle for it to be feminist, to my mind. It's just, you know, women are given equal agency in the narrative, kind of on all levels and at every stage. And then with the revelation about the villain, we've gone into spoiler territory here.
Yeah, sure, totally. You can reveal that.
So, you know, the for a good chunk of the book, it's believed that the villain is the son of one of the initial victims, who's called Alexander Worthington. And they've like, well, AW, that must be Alexander Worthington, and they get evidence that it's him and it's someone from within the Worthington family, and it hasn't been him at all. It's his sister Abigail Worthington, and you know, no one thought that it could be her. No one was taking her seriously, and she was actually the mastermind behind it all.
Okay, so if I may jump in here, I think maybe I should have realized that for what it is, that no one was taking the woman seriously. Like, I just took that bit as being really crap storytelling, because when it was like AW, and then I was like, well, it's clearly not going to be who we think it is. Who else can have the initials AW? And then I was like, his sister. And then it proved to be right. Like, the minute they brought up the AW thing, and I knew of Abigail Worthington as a character, I was like, that's clearly our villain. Like, so I guess I should have been trying to read that more from an in-universe perspective as opposed to a reader, do you know? I guess that makes sense. But like, sorry, you were going to continue. I'll let you finish before retorting.
No, I think that was most of it.
So I think I agree with what you say, but I feel like we could switch the characters for men, and we would still have the same sort of narrative. Like, for example, if our main character was a man and the sidekick was a man, the whole thing of like not taking that person seriously because they want them to struggle like our male character struggled would still kind of hold. Like, I felt like there wasn't anything like kind of uniquely from a woman's perspective going on there. And I contrast this with, I mentioned like we're watching Call the Midwife at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I contrast this with Call the Midwife, where like everyone, like the whole cast is female, and it's about like a female world. They get eyes in the female world, and it's about looking at the world and its troubles through that lens. And I just kind of feel like in this book, like women have been like just put there for the sake of like, you know, as opposed to it being intrinsically about that. Like, do you think I'm way off base here?
I don't think it has to be what you're thinking of for it to be a feminist. And I think just like for women to be just in it is kind of a thing in itself, and a valid thing in itself, that it doesn't always have to be about struggle. It's just like, you know, they're just doing the same thing.
Well, I mean, I would argue that the Call the Midwife point is not about struggle per se. It just feels like do you know, if Call the Midwife feels like an authentic woman female experience, whereas this doesn't. This felt to me like it was a dude writing about women that was real like lib like, do you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a strong feeling about it one way or the other, so like I'm kind of more thrashing out the point than making my own statement. But I think just like presenting them on parity is kind of has a value of its own in a way.
I take that. I guess maybe the issue there for me is that again, in the research for the book, it was presented like this was one of the reasons why it got awards and stuff. And maybe just the mere sort of presentation of parity is maybe, to my mind, not award worthy. Maybe that's what it is. Like, if I just came across this book in the wild with no research, I'd be like, oh, fun book or whatever. Maybe it's because it was like gold star for this book, and I'm like, is it a gold star? Maybe a silver star.
Yeah.
Like, do you know?
But I don't know. Maybe not in isolation, but maybe if it's not happening enough in other books, then you know that is enough to make it noteworthy. I don't know whether that is the case, but
yeah. And again, I don't. Maybe just I read
setting the bar low.
Yeah, maybe I just read a lot of stuff that is kind of like woman-centric. But like I said, I finished reading Jasmine Throne, and that's all about women as well. And like Jade City it wasn't exclusively, you know, female-centric, but the female characters were great in it.
Fifth season.
And fifth season. So I feel like I read an awful lot of stuff where the presentation of women on being equal to men is like, it happens a lot, you know. So again, that's what I'm saying. I was kind of like, I don't think what's going on in this book is particularly noteworthy. And like, I mean, that's fine, that's grand, but it's just, I would question like, why are we giving awards? Why is this getting awarded? If that's one of the reasons why it was award worthy, I don't know. And I am a man. I could be just talking absolute nonsense. Like, this is, once I gave the book to the captain, I was like, you need to read this. I want to hear your opinions. If the captain comes back to me, it was kind of like, this is up there with the great feminist works. I'll be like, okay, time to check my opinions here, because like I'm clearly off base, and I suspect I am off base here. But it was just something was not sitting with me there. Yeah, I suppose final thing on my part, this is to go away from a serious point to a more kind of silly point. Steampunk. So this book, I thought, was a steampunk book, right? Based on the cover of the book and what the Wikipedia page said. Did you feel like the steampunk vibes were a little bit weak throughout the book? Because when I think about it, I get the big giant mecha ifrit carrier thing, like that was really steampunky, and there was a part that one of the buildings had an internal thing that was clearly depicted as being like coggy and things like that. But in general, I felt a little bit kind of steampunk light. Did you feel this as well? And if so, good or bad thing? Because I know steampunk can be a kind of like contentious sort of genre.
I mean, it's a thing I've I like it in very, very specific ways, and a lot of it is really terrible. I mean, it was steampunk. Yeah, absolutely. There was airships and clockwork computers and things. Yeah, absolutely.
I missed the clockwork computers.
The brain of the ministry that she works for. There's like a clockwork computer that powers the building. Oh yeah, that's what I was referring to. The thing in the building, yeah. I didn't realize that was I missed that was a brain. Sorry. Okay. Interesting. I thought it could have been more directly steampunky, like pointed out more a little bit. But maybe that's a bit just being a bit nail on the head sort of thing, Yeah. I mean, as I said, I'm not like necessarily a huge fan of the genre in some way, so I didn't mind that. But also there's kind of a thing going on that, magic defeats Maxim guns. So the industrialization that is implied by steampunk is like the lesser force compared to the art of the Djinn.
That is, that's really poetic. Fair play. Yeah, you're right. And I guess another thing just occurred to me. I'm going to disagree with what I just said. And maybe it's not a good idea to be more overt about it, because I felt like the author was really fixated on the visual look of the main character, with her bowler hat and cane. I get the impression that's like a steampunky trope sort of thing, is it?
I guess so, actually, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, because that annoyed me as well, because we kept getting references to her, like couldn't leave the flat unless the hat, and like, where is my bowler hat? And it was like, I feel like actually now that I think about it, if the book was like that, but just everywhere trying to point out the steampunky vibes, I think I would get tired of that book really fast. So I think maybe the way it's pitched is actually okay, is good.
And I felt that was more a characterization thing than anything, because she talks about, or I mean, it's not from her perspective directly, but the narration talks about her clothes a lot more than it talks about anyone else's, and it does refer to how other people are dressed, but it gives hers a lot more detail just because she's a dandy.
She's a dandy?
Yeah.
I don't know what that term means.
Oh, like a well-dressed young man with kind of aspirations to social mobility in the 1800s.
Oh, a dandy. Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that at all.
Yeah, it's like guys in period dramas might be dandies.
All of them, literally all of them.
They might be.
A man unduly concerned with looking stylish and fashionable. I am an undandy. I have no concern about looking stylish and fashionable, none whatsoever. I come to you, no joke, Bill, in a t-shirt that is so stupidly moth-eaten that it's not even funny. But do I care? Not even slightly. It is a garment. It hides my shame.
I mean, I'm in grey tracky shorts and a cardigan, so
You're in grey tracky shorts, Bill. Come on, you're not in the side that. Where is your velvet smoking jacket, lapel pin, whatever nonsense that you usually wear?
Actually, where is my velvet smoking jacket?
Where is your velvet?
That's a good question. I don't know where it is. I have to find that.
Yeah. So, okay, those are my points. I basically just wanted to talk to you about the politics side of it.
Yeah. I don't fully agree that it's just fluff and has nothing to say. I mean, I think it is kind of reacting to colonialism and Western racism and stuff. You know, and I enjoyed that element of it.
Yeah, maybe it's harsh to say that it's got nothing to say. Again, just at the risk of repeating myself, for something that has won awards, I would expect it to be a lot more, I guess, visionary than it is. I guess is my issue. But like I said, it was fun. Like, this is a fun book. I would read it again. It is a fun ride, and like the escalation pornography is just it's a great thing to be on that ride. But yeah, the bards will not sing of this book in hundreds of years' time. I'll tell you that much. Any other closing thoughts?
Not about Master of Djinn, but about the Legend of Korra.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Legend of Korra. ... Do it. Lead us out with a banger here, Bill.
I haven't watched the Legend of Korra.
Good start.
But I'm about 90 minutes away from watching the Legend of Korra.
Oh, you're about to finish TLA.
Yes, I have literally the final 90-minute episode of The Last Airbender left to watch.
Oh,
having never watched it before.
Okay, that's interesting. We should probably put a pin on this, unless there's something you really want to say, because I think the 90-minute episode is noteworthy.
You want to be 90 minutes long.
But it may color how you view the show. I'm trying not to ruin it for you. So far though, just a quick little give us a quick little vibe check. How are we thinking?
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So it's like my third or fourth attempt to watch it, and I found it hard to get into before. I thought it was a bit like kind of kiddie at the start. The last few times I tried, but then I watched like the first season in like 2 days. once I broke through that barrier. Great characters. They behave convincingly as kids and as teenagers without being annoying.
Because we all know how much you hate children.
No, I hate children in things. In real life, they're fine. And yeah, a little bit more nuance to the world building than I expected at first, which I enjoyed. And you know, like, it's not exactly pro-violence, but the idea I'm getting from it so far is like, sometimes you need to use a bit of violence. Sometimes it's the language that they understand. And you know, acting violently in self-defense and stuff, and that is justified. So yeah, no, it's good so far. I'm looking forward to finishing it and starting Korra.
Do you have any criticisms of it?
Nothing comes to mind right away. No.
Okay. I mean, to my mind, I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's absolutely great. I have an issue with the 90-minute episode, which is hardly a fresh take. I think everyone has a similar issue. But we should talk about that once you finished it.
Next month.
It'll take you a whole month to watch. You're gonna watch every day. You're gonna watch it an equal amount of Avatar.
Last Airbender. 3 minutes a day until we record again.
That's it exactly. Okay, so I'm actually going to do that because I love Last Airbender. I'm going to put it in AP79 Avatar. Right, is that us, Bill?
That is us.
All right, folks, thank you so much for listening, watching, subscribing, patronizing, all that good stuff. I hope you had as much fun as I did. We're going to finish the show with a couple of minutes of Bill just saying Abheski words. So Bill will see you out. Until next time, Edgar out.
Yar to Yarthlin, Simas, Vistan, Audian, Dajag to Shenshaw, Oskin to Ater, Arbe, Siam, Yolin, Peli, Enthia, Dieten, Bolsha, Baurin to Eintov, Yathara, Alega Korth, Phelin Krastka, Levent to Athran, Agari Tsiyar, Sorend to Chletsky, Benvin, Sorvit to Ovnian, Slvata, Lilani, Eritha Tsi Agaren, Remaden, Jensir to Hlarven, Naham to Valbe, Borsov Tsi Erens, Bashin, Vishta, Evrich, Sinem, Ferdi, Leov, Koven, Servi, Enklan, Mapnir, Velina, Neruna, Makavar, Tsodena Iltsat, Grey Bauren, Alet, Ulne, Irasha, Alsech, Guigana, Avesk, Zhikav, Mirsphere, Lansk, Otvev, Vilv, Usen, Vikol, Selin, Porad, Abga, Uple, Trier, Smatur, Edmir, Olyen, Lotiel, Vel Ada, the Tamar Company, the Eltian Company, the Valdine Company, Arvix, Urselk, Dvint.
Dashi used as a genitive suffix.